1,000 different remedies, you try to match that remedy to the person based on all his symptoms, based on his character, his environment, where he grew up, in order to make that, help him connect to himself and make that huge shift, which will actually manifest in an improvement in all the symptoms, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional.
In 2012, we got launched on a journey that we'd never have dreamed up ourselves. It includes building a business, making huge changes to our nutritional and daily use habits, how we parent, how we live out our faith, and drastic changes in who we ended up crossing paths with. Cancer was what launched us on our journey, and things turned out just fine. On that journey, we've met some amazing people. Today's guest is one of those people. In this episode, you'll learn about someone else's amazing story in the areas of parenting, faith, health, medicine, nutrition, and more. And for just a brief moment here on the show, we share some time together. This is our little corner. So come on in, get settled, and let's hear what this episode has in store. Very cool. Yeah, me personally, I like to do the kind of hit the button and then we're kind of introduced into a conversation that's already in process. It's like it seems like people are like, "Whoa, all right, we're doing this." There's no intro like, "Welcome to the such and such show. I'm your host Fritz." It's like, nah, it's just everybody knows what they're listening to. You know what you're listening to, so we made it. Well, catch me up a little bit. Like, tell me a little bit about yourself. And I know the topics that you wanted to get into were faith and alternative or holistic medicine. But tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, how did you get to where you are today? What's your story?
Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. My name is Tehilla Aloni. I'm an extrasensory business consultant, a homeopath, and the CEO of an access control company. I'm also a former Israeli Judo champion and a former IDF bootcamp instructor. So
Wow.
that's not. I
So
know that's very
you're a
unusual.
pretty dangerous woman, is what I'm hearing.
Only if you go against me.
Yeah. That's pretty cool though, because it's like, hey, you're like trained to do damage and now you're trained to like heal. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that I must say that was a very big transformation in my life, because I started judo when I was 5, and I was on the national team from the age of 12 to the age of 18. And judo being an individual sport, it made me very selfish, because I was just concerned about my own success and, maintaining my position as champion. And then I injured my knee and I had to quit judo. And then I was recruited to the Israeli army. It's compulsory in Israel for men and women to go to the army. In the beginning, I was recruited as an elite athlete, but then I injured my knee and I had to change basically what I was doing in the army. And I became a bootcamp instructor. Now, I became a bootcamp instructor for male recruits who come from very difficult backgrounds. So the army, what the Israeli army does, it does a favor for society, and it takes on these soldiers and it gives them a chance to sort of straighten up. And so their program is very, very strict, and it also requires a lot from the commanders. And it's also a thankless job, and it required me to make a huge change, a huge shift in my life, and just focus on their well-being, putting myself and my needs totally aside. And thanks to that, it was so intense that I managed to do that shift to become, and that was the first stage in becoming who I am today, which is basically, I focus on healing and empowering other people. But it was a very big shift that I'm very happy I did.
Awesome. Awesome. It seems like as we're going through things like that, the really hard stuff, you don't realize what it's preparing you for in the future. You know what I mean? Like as you were going through it, did you think to yourself, wow, this is gonna really pay off? Or were you like, oh, this really sucks? Like, what? Why me? Like, what, how were you feeling as you were going through that major shift?
Well, at the age of 18, my perspective isn't what it is today. And I was always known as, the judo champion. It was part of my identity. So I was very afraid of giving that up because it was part of who I was. And it defined me in a way.
Mhm.
And I had to rediscover myself in the army and later on in what I did. And looking back in my life, and I think we said we were going to talk about faith. I think that our journey in life basically allows us to develop our unique skill set, and in order to perform our calling, our vocation in life. I think that's what we experience basically prepares us for our higher calling, for from a soul point of view.
Yep.
And now it's clear for me, obviously at the age of 18, I wasn't there.
We have so much like nearsightedness in our young days. I mean, I think back to when I was 18, it's like I did stupid stuff back then. I mean, if I could go back in time and tell myself anything, probably a lot of it would be like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Like, is your head with you today? Like, has your head been screwed on all day? No. Um, but yeah, when you think forward, and I guess later in life, as you're going through things, you can feel it sharpening you. And it's like, okay, I've seen before historically, these hard things that I went through before were really good for me. There's gonna be some good for me now. But yeah, at 18, hardly any 18-year-old has that realization unless they're an old soul, and that's rare. That's super rare.
I actually, what I've noticed is I think the generation of children and teens today, from what I see, they're so much more spiritual and more developed than I was, and my generation. I was only introduced to spirituality, by chance. If there is something called chance, at the age of 20.
Mhm.
And I can have today, in my homeopathic practice, or just on a daily basis, I can have conversations with teens and even young children about spirituality that no one actually spoke to me about. So I see that there is I think the general consciousness is rising. Thank God.
Well, that's good. That's really good. And I hadn't noticed that. I mean, you're probably at the forefront of having a lot of those conversations. I mean, we're at our church. I mean, we got four girls. Our oldest is 13. She's not 18 yet, but it's like, well, yeah, we can have spiritual conversations with her. We're faithful people, and she lives with us in our house. Um, and then we go to church, and it's like that's still a closed system. But I didn't realize that the world at large, kids these days are more open to that sort of thing. Like,
You see,
yeah.
what I've noticed is that, especially in Israel, people are studying more and more spirituality and Kabbalah, which is the Jewish form of spirituality.
Mhm.
Um, so I think in the past, Kabbalah was considered like very, very deep secrets, and it wasn't sort of exposed to the public.
Mhm.
And I think there's a general spiritual trend to make it more common. And so knowledge that in the past no one had access to, people have access to also via YouTube, but also just classes and lessons. And these are part of the things that I've been studying for the past 20 years or so.
Right.
So that's the grassroots, and it's you can see that it's affecting people in the way they see things.
It
So
is. It
that's
is.
at least where where in my circles.
Right. That's really cool. And you bring up a good point because I really think social media and particularly TikTok have played a big role in that. And I mean, probably it's sort of a lagging indicator, but when you're consuming content and the content that you're liking and lingering on happens to be stuff in the spiritual realm, you're going to see more of it. And whenever that knowledge is shared at large, just like you said, used to be kind of a private secret, kind of thing. But now it's like it's out there, it's in the open. Like anybody wants to learn Kabbalah, you can. It's there, it's available, it's not secret, and it's accessible for a large amount of people. So that's actually really cool. That's actually I didn't know that until talking with you today. I thought, oh, the world's going to hell in a handbasket, and everybody's just like nobody wants to be spiritual anymore. Well, apparently they do, and that is a very good thing.
I also see that, what I see. So we were talking about my journey. So I started studying homeopathy at the age of 20. And that I did that, and I did also different business entrepreneuring, etc. And what I do today is that I'm an extrasensory business consultant. So I have an holistic approach to a business, usually a businesswoman that comes to me. I also prescribe a homeopathic remedy, which helps her break subconscious patterns and aligns her with abundance, and also helps her on a personal level, because I believe that the business is actually a reflection of the person who owns it, especially small businesses.
Right.
And also I use my extrasensory business consulting skills to help her make decisions, give her clarity, and also basically provide sustenance to the business, nurture it from a spiritual point of view. So what I see is that also in the world of business, which is considered very material and very sort of not spiritual, I see that there's much more openness and understanding to spirituality, that money is energy, it's abundance, it's about how you're aligned. It's got to do with mindset and consciousness. And I see more and more people are aware of that. So I think that as the world evolves, spirituality will become an integral part of people's lives and the way they perceive things. That's what I strive to do as a business consultant, to bring spirituality into the material realm, and to actually and we see that we have results in which we see that in increase in profit, in revenue, etc. So the spiritual controls the material world. It's not the other way around. So once you understand these spiritual principles, you manage to align yourself with abundance, you see the results in your life, in your personal and in your business.
Neat. Yeah, it is tempting to think that like the tail wags the dog. Like you mentioned,
exactly.
the business doesn't control spirituality, and it's like I would agree. I mean, I know that my faith, it's like when I'm building businesses, if I'm accurately representing the Lord, well, I should behave a certain way. There are certain practices that I know other business owners would do that I'm like, well, I can't do that. I would make him look bad. So it takes on the flavor, just like you said earlier, especially with small businesses. They take on the flavor of the person, of their character. And if faith is interwoven into that person's character, guess what? You have a business that includes spirituality. And then as you learn more things about your spirit, about your soul, about what makes you you, it just manifests itself in some exciting ways. That's really cool how you blended the two. I don't, is there anybody else that's doing what you do the way you do it, or? If you have a boutique retail shop and you're looking for an excellent line of products to stock it with, look no further than Exactly Zero. We can provide any item in our store at a wholesale price and ship a large quantity straight to you. Not only that, but for a little bit extra, we can design a white label for you with your custom branding. Our products are getting more popular all the time. So if you want to get in on the action and provide your customers with products that are safe for their families, you can trust us to provide them. Stop by exactlyzero.com/wholesale to find out more. Now, back to the show.
I haven't heard of anyone that does what I do. No.
There might be 2 or 3 at most, but
I doubt that there are homeopaths which also do the extrasensory business consulting using bioergonomy. I haven't heard of that. But you know, everyone, like I say, but this is my unique skill set, which my journey has led me to develop. You know, the knowledge in the Kabbalah, the spiritual practices. I studied NLP, martial arts, and everything I've been through has developed this unique skill set. And each person has his own, you know, thing in life. And the more you're connected to yourself, the more you can actually manifest that and bring that higher self into your life and see amazing results.
Walk me through a little bit about what homeopathy is, because I know some people, I mean, the people that are listening to this show are probably like, well, they likely understand a little bit about what it is, right? The target audience for this show, they get it. Like specifically, how does it work? Like,
so basically, I'm just trying to think how long the explanation will be. I'll start by this. So every symptom, whether it's physical, emotional, or mental, is a result of an internal imbalance. So we don't strive to treat the symptoms because there's no point really. We strive to restore balance using a homeopathic remedy. There are more than 5,000 homeopathic remedies made from different, you know, materials in nature, or even from, you know, chocolate, dolphin's milk, anything you can imagine, almost there's a homeopathic remedy. And the whole idea, one of the main principles of homeopathy is treating the person as a whole, meaning that you take everything into account, the person's symptoms from the past, their, you know, what they like to eat, what they don't like to eat, their dreams, everything is taken into account, and you fit an individual remedy to that person. One of those 5,000 different remedies, you try to match that remedy to the person based on all his symptoms, based on his character, his environment, where he grew up, in order to make that, help him connect to himself and make that huge shift, which will actually manifest in an improvement in all the symptoms, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional.
yeah, there's a certain kind of person that whenever they hear homeopathy, I mean, they have a knee-jerk reaction and they're like, that's a bunch of hogwash. And it's like, they're just watering down the drugs until it's like not there. And I'm like, that's not what it's about. That's not what it's about. I mean, at a real low level, like we're not practitioners, but we know enough where we're like, okay, there's some things we can try. Like back when the girls were teething, there were these little tablets that you would take. And it's like, okay, there's nothing in here. Like it doesn't help solve the pain right there. But what it does is it helps you generate a natural painkiller that helps relax the pain receptors right there. So it's like a couple degrees separated, but it's what you were saying. It's like, hey, you don't want to just fix the symptoms, obviously. It's not medicine. You don't want to just put a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You want to actually fix what's going on. However, your body already contains everything that it needs in order to do what it's supposed to do. Sometimes you just got to kind of trick it into giving up the goods. And then that's where homeopathy comes in. It's like, well, we're gonna try eating or drinking this particular thing. And it may seem unrelated, but it triggers a result, which triggers a result, which triggers a result, which actually fixes the problem. And then it just cascades back. So
you know, regarding what you said, your example with teething is a great example, because you know, most people with homeopathy, they start out as skeptics, and then it's just the results that keep them going. Because and especially with teething, I remember every time I used to give a remedy to my kids, I used to tell my husband, let's wait, I promise you, less than 5 minutes, and they calm down. And it used to work. You see, the homeopathic remedy, there are different degrees of accuracy. The more accurate the remedy is, the faster you see results. So I remember my grandmother was in hospital and she was connected to a monitor. And I could see the saturation of oxygen in the blood was below 90%, and the eyes were rolled back. And my grandfather was there, and he was a skeptic. My late grandfather. He was also a dentist, so he wasn't he wasn't very supportive of homeopathy. So, but I took the opportunity when he went to the toilet to give my grandmother a homeopathic remedy. I was figuring there's nothing to lose at this stage.
Mm-hmm.
And before he was back, her eyes had rolled back to their place. The saturation in her blood had gone up above 90% to 98%. The head nurse was in because to see what was happening, and I was shocked to see how quickly it worked. And so was my grandfather. So skeptics, I'm never worried about skeptics, because also with bioergonomy, what I do just invites skeptics.
Mm-hmm.
But being with my background that I'm so result oriented, as a judo champion, there's no black and white. Either you win or you lose. The same thing. There's no black and white with the results. We see results and they repeat themselves. So you just can't argue anymore,
Right. You can't. It makes me think of a story I heard. This guy, he was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and he was in the same boat. He's like, I don't have anything to lose. And what he ended up doing was he was basically on his deathbed, and he had gotten a hold of a large amount of, I think it was nectarine seeds, something like that, apricot seeds. Where when you eat like a peach or an apricot, you've got the pit in the middle, and if you open it up, there's something in there that looks like an almond. And if you eat a bunch of those, it knocks out cancer. And he basically said, I don't have anything to lose. I'm just going to eat a fistful of these things. And he went to bed, and he woke up the next day and he was like, I'm actually feeling notably better. Like, I'm not out of the woods, but I'm moving the needle. And so he kept consuming these things. And eventually his cancer went away. So I think there's so many different ailments and diseases that we have where we just seem to accept, like, well, that's my lot in life. It's random. I guess it's my time. And it's like, no, there's thousands. I mean, you said 5,000 plus remedies for these things. Like, do you keep them all in your head, or do you have like a cookbook or something that you use? Or
No,
like, well, this guy's got explosive diarrhea. Let's page 473 or something. What do we feed this guy? Strawberry dolphin milk?
Well, in homeopathy, we use computers nowadays. So we have
Yes.
a database, and we don't make the homeopathic remedies. We've got the pharmacy to do that.
Right.
So we've got very, very good software, which has all the materia medica and all the information, and allows us to cross-examine and check out and find the most suitable remedy.
Well, I'll tell you what, as we wrap up here, what would be a good place? Because I want to see if I can get some people coming your way. Like, how would people find out about you?
Well, I've got my website. For my business is called Bioergonomy for Business,
Okay.
and the website's name is bioforbiz.com,
Okay.
which is BIO, the number 4, and then BIZ.com. Either there or through LinkedIn, Tehilla Aloni. Those are the best ways to contact me.
Cool. Well, I'll have to connect with you if we're not already.
Thank you. The pleasure's been all mine. It was really great talking to you. And I also think you're doing an amazing thing, bringing this information out to people. And I also read a bit about your background and what you've been through as a family. And I think it's so powerful how you've taken things and risen to do something good for humanity through this.
Yeah, it's one of those things like you were saying, back when you were 18, you didn't realize that what you were going through was going to launch. It was giving you the fuel for something later on. And going through cancer for me was the same way. It's like it was a dark space for me. I did not enjoy it. But looking back, it's like if I had to do that over again, I totally would, because it made me who I am today, made me tougher. I like being strong. And you got to go through the suck to get there, right? I mean, you learn that in boot camp. They run you through the ringer, and it's like, well, we don't want wimpy people in the Israeli army. Like, call us old fashioned, but we want trained people, and it's gonna hurt and it's gonna suck. But once it's over, it's done. So, well, we'll get things going here, and I appreciate your time. I really, really thank you for the gift of your time today. All right.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care now. Bye bye.
Take it. You too. Bye.
That's it for today's episode. We and our guest hope you got a lot out of it and come back to hear the next one. Be sure to stop by exactlyzero.com to see what our family is doing to help other families adopt a clean living lifestyle. From deodorant, soaps, sunscreen, lip balms, bath teas, and more, we've got you covered. Stay healthy, folks. This is your host, Michael Fritzius, signing off.